Welcome, everybody. My name is Dr. Beth Tumarkin, and I am with Breaking Forward Coaching. I'm not only an executive coach, but I'm also a psychiatrist in the mental health field. And I'm really excited today to bring to everyone in the audience Christie Caggiani with Therapeutic Oasis. Christie is a licensed dietitian and a nutrition therapist. All right, I'm going to start all over again. Say that again. Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Beth Tumarkin, and I am a psychiatrist as well as an executive coach with Breaking Forward Coaching. Today, we are meeting with Christie Caggiani, who is a licensed dietitian and a nutrition therapist, and she is with Therapeutic Oasis, and we are so pleased to present her to you and to share some of her insights. Hi, Christie. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored and excited to be here.
And Christy, we know that you've had a really fascinating career path, and we were wanting to share that with our audience. And we know that you started at Renfrew, and then you moved into private practice, and you ended up founding Therapeutic Oasis. Did your integration of nutrition with mental and emotional health begin early in your career, or did it evolve over time?
It really evolved. And if we go even back before Renfrew, I did the couple things I said I never would do. I worked in food service and I worked in long-term care, and I proved that I didn't really want to do those things. Worked a little bit in the hospital and then worked at Renfrew. And so as I made my way to Renfrew, that was when I really began to um, see the value of working alongside mental health professionals, and it I started to feel my niche, because it wasn't about telling people what to eat, or you know calculating diets, or just being in this medical model scientific training that dietitians really have as our background. I was able to actually do counseling and do help people really understand and work through their relationships with food, and wow, it's very related to their emotions, and oh, this is so cool. And it wasn't short term. I loved um, the fact that you're working with someone and building relationships with them and going alongside them. You're not telling them. So really, that was sort of the beginning of my work in nutrition from a therapeutic lens, and then I've worked really with therapists since then. In private practice, a lot of on the phone, voicemailing, then eventually texting, then all of that, and until I would help co-found Therapeutic Oasis, and then my team was all here, and I still work with clinicians in the community as well. So I really have the best of all worlds. I have people around me, and then all kinds of other therapists and physicians and coaches out in the community that I collaborate with. So.
It sounds like you've really been able to build a career that brings you a lot of satisfaction.
I really have. It's really it's very, very rewarding, and to see people get better, and to see people kind of come out of the struggles with food, which is very, very complex. So it's pretty cool.
So you touched upon some of your early career experiences and how how those helped you realize what sounds like what you didn't like so much, and then you were able to find what you did really enjoy. How are all of those experiences shaping the way you now work with the executives and professionals and the individuals who are navigating stress and burnout?
Mm. Well, I think some of it actually included making sure I'm practicing what I preach. That I'm doing a lot of creating balance in my own life, and in private practice on my own, I was in charge of all of it, right? And I had to figure out what my boundaries were. And for me, it was really important to prioritize being a mom and being a wife. And I love my business, but I really needed to be there for my kids. So I had to figure out how to set those boundaries and how to keep my own cup full because I wasn't helping anybody if I didn't do that. So it was a lot of learning how to say no, how to, you know what I wanted to say yes to, making sure that I had my systems in place to get my sleep and my food and my social and all of those things. So I think I try really hard with my clients to let them know I'm not telling them something that I wouldn't do myself. So, so that's a big piece of it. With Therapeutic Oasis, one of our tenets is mindfulness. So one of our clinicians does a lot of mindfulness-based stress reduction and mindful self-compassion. So as a team, we all actually have taken the classes. We all talk the talk. We all speak the speak. And we really try to live it in our lives, which just kind of then naturally comes through to whoever we're working with. Because people know if you're trying to help someone and you're not you're not taking care of yourself, they know it. They can pick it up. And even if they don't know what they're picking up, they're not going to connect with you well. So I think that that's probably been one of the professional work has helped me, but applying the things that I'm teaching to my own life have really helped me then give it back to other people, if that makes sense.
We hear a lot about we hear a lot of the word authenticity, but you're talking about being authentic. Like you're telling people, this is how I live, and you're showing them how, joyful you are and how content you are in the life that you're living. And that does make an impact on them. Like they would recognize if you weren't abiding by the advice that you were giving, of course.
And that there's not perfect, that there's like, we all have to give ourselves some compassion because, there isn't a perfect way of eating. There isn't a perfect, like, you can plan the perfect week of menus and it's just not going to happen. And so, just from all aspects, being able to kind of be flexible and give yourself grace in that is also really helpful and important.
We can still be joyful within imperfection, of
Exactly.
course. Yeah. And I also really appreciate working within a team, having that collegiality, having the excitement of brainstorming, the creativeness that can come when you're working on a case together,
Mhm.
and and then the shared excitement and the shared I guess pride when someone has a breakthrough and just feeling so good for them in their journey and as they're accomplishing the goals they set. So I know that at Breaking Forward that we've celebrated successes as a team. And so I can understand why you find that to be such a joy for you too. Now, I wanted to pivot to talking about, the executives that you work with, and we see a lot of professionals, and coming from your standpoint, how can nutrition help a professional or an executive maintain their energy and focus throughout the day? How can it help with productivity and performance?
There are so many ways, and I think that sometimes we think it actually has to be complicated, and I think that's where we actually create more issues for ourselves. So nutrition in and of itself doesn't have to be tricky. So when we can kind of come back to like, what do we know is true? Oh, our body and our brain need fuel regularly throughout the day, every single day. Oh, okay. So things like starting with food in the morning, starting with water before you hit coffee, starting with um, a routine of having food available. So, just feeding your brain and your body, you can't expect yourself to focus if there's no glucose on your brain. And so, the other thing to really remember in this time of keto is that our brain runs off glucose. And so if which only comes effectively from carbohydrates. So when someone is on a, high protein or a high fat diet and they're not getting carbohydrate, they will have a really hard time maintaining focus. They'll have a hard time with memory. They will have a shorter temper. If they're prone to anxiety or depression, those things will rear their head. They'll be more tired. So So your brain can't function if it doesn't have the fuel. So number one, and then similarly, your body needs the fuel too. So if you're trying to show up for a really big meeting and you're not eating consistently, you're not having carbs, protein, and fat, you won't be fueling your brain, you won't be maintaining energy, you also won't be sleeping well. So if you're not eating regularly throughout the day, your sleep won't be effective. Your brain actually won't shut down. I sometimes talk about it as if, like, our computer rainbow wheels and it's not shutting down completely, it's just frozen. Our brain will do that at night if we haven't eaten adequately and we're exhausted, but we can't shut our brain off all the way. And a lot of times that's the brain's way in many cases of signaling, hey, I need some food. And a lot of times if we eat, we actually can go to sleep. But the goal is to be doing it during the day on a regular basis so that when we get to sleep time, we can actually sleep. So
Yeah, as you were describing that, I was thinking about people being wired but tired.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And so when we're doing, that baseline regular food, regular hydration, um, you know, creating space to eat. So it doesn't have to take a lot of time to eat a meal, but we need to have it in our schedule. So
Mhm.
and a lot of times I will help people work on planning to eat first and then working the rest of their schedule around that, understanding that there's flexibility. But if we come at it from the standpoint of, let me figure out my entire day and then figure out where I can squeeze in food, there's too many ways to ignore food. And so, really prioritizing it doesn't mean being rigid and over controlled with it. It means, hey, this is really important to me. And
Mhm.
in general, I know I need to eat lunch around this time frame. So, given the meetings I have scheduled, like where is it going to go? Rather than I'll get it in if I have time.
We're squeezing in 3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So those are a lot of, some of the main things. And I think the idea of, like we talked about a minute ago, trying not to be perfect. So trying not to be perfect with food either. It's, sometimes we do the best we can do. Having go-to meals, having food available, snacks that are accessible, that are going to sustain us, that aren't giving us quick energy and then we crash, but also aren't, if you're really hungry and all you eat is a piece of jerky, you're not going to feel better for very soon or for very long. So having things accessible that you enjoy, but actually give you lots of nutrients is really critical.
Now, we we also will get people for our ADHD track, whether it's an ADHD executive or just, someone who's just living with ADHD and trying to figure out how to best wrangle their brain and, improve their performance and life in general. But, for those clients, for those ADHD folks, what role does nutrition play in helping regulate, say, focus, energy, and their emotional balance? I know you touched upon all of those with just in general, but do you find with the ADHD clients it's even more important?
It is really, and yeah, all of that other stuff applies. And knowing your systems, knowing like what are your, you know, really what are your go-to meals? What are the go-to meals that you can pick up that are complete? What are the go-to meals that are in your freezer? Can you think of meal assembly versus having to cook? Because you get to the end of your day and you're crashing, you're
Hmm.
not going to want to cook, but can you just assemble something? And um, and then also remembering that you're really having meals that are sustaining you. So you're getting carbs to bring your brain up, turn your brain on so you can focus, but you're having enough protein and fat so that it will sustain you and you don't crash. And then your dopamine is like, I need something quick, really, really quick. So that and things like what helps you remember? Do you need timers? Do you need to write it on your schedule? Take a break. eat your snack. This is what the snack is. So there might need to be some more really specific planning and and reminders and things that you can actually implement. But the omega-3 is also super important. So getting in fish, maybe even doing some fish oil supplementation, um, some B complex supplementation. Um, so those things can also be extra helpful for an ADHD brain. Um, yeah.
And then kind of as an aside for the audience, are there any good vegetarian omega-3 options that you like?
There are, off the top of my head, I'm completely blanking on the brand. Oh my goodness. I mean, you can always do it's not the same as it's not fish oil, but you can, flax actually has omega-3 in it. It's a different type, but it actually helps maintain. It doesn't fix the
Okay.
frazzled nerve endings, but flaxseed oil and flax seeds that are ground are super important. Um, there, yeah, make sure you have my contact information. If people have questions, they can send it to
Yeah.
me.
What about borage oil or borage supplements?
Um, yeah, and I don't know, I haven't seen specific research on that with ADHD, but yes, that does have, it is touted as having some benefit um, overall. So, but I haven't seen the ADHD specific research on it.
It's always there's always new research out. I'm always impressed with how people are just ever curious and just trying to find new and better ways for things. So yeah. I now I want to go research it, but I'll have to save it for later too.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we know, especially in our culture, but professional burnout's such a widespread issue. And I think this is just feeding off of what we've been saying all along, but how do you see nutrition acting as a preventative tool against burnout, especially for high performing leaders and executives?
So, um, honestly, one of the ways is trying to have food be a part of fun and joy, truthfully, like having it not be so utilitarian. And yes, we need. I like to think of a really truly balanced, healthful relationship with food includes nutrition, but it also includes responding to hunger and fullness signals and eating food that's satisfying. And then it includes joyful eating. So, like, do I like the food I have? Is this presented in a way that actually helps me go, oh, wow, I'm here. Like, this makes me smile. If you're looking at your plate and like, that actually is not helpful to any part of you. And yes, sometimes we just need to eat, and sometimes we just need to do the best we can with what we have. Not there is no, we're not always gonna have an A+ meal, but in general, we need to be liking what we're eating. So I think that's something that we've lost a lot in our culture because there's so much focus on trying to get it right, be healthy, do I don't know. Nutrition has gotten really out of hand in a lot of ways. And so I think sometimes just bringing it back to like what gives you pleasure can help a lot. And taking the time, like can you stop and turn your computer off for 10 minutes? Take the phone call after you've had your lunch. Can you know, carve out time at your dinner table away from your electronics. You know, be with your pet, be with your family, be with yourself, but don't be on your electronics. And that is huge because you'll be so much better able to show up if you're actually letting yourself know what you're eating. We could eat literally the exact same meal. And if we're eating it in the car on the phone, um, versus at a table and we've turned our devices off, the exact same meal is processed completely differently.
Really?
It hits the signals differently. Your ability to actually recognize you've eaten is completely different. And so cortisol levels are different. The way we absorb it's different. So it affects our digestion, it affects everything. So it's really fascinating if we can just give ourselves time to be with what we're eating. There's a beginning, there's an end, and we can move on. If we do it while we're doing other things, we're never really done, and we're never. It's like it's almost like we don't know if we got what we needed. If that makes sense.
It does. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Now, moving on and pivoting again, going back to when you were sharing with us about working collaboratively with other providers and caring for your clients, how does this approach strengthen your outcomes versus working in isolation?
And that's a good question. I like to think of food as our life on a plate. So really the way someone's food is showing up for them. So whether that means they're never eating or they're just the way in which they interact with food is really a parallel to what's going on in their life emotionally, maybe, cognitively. So if someone's really all over the place with their food, they're probably not taking care of themselves. It's somewhat how coming out emotionally for them as well. So it's it's very much a parallel process. So what I'm working on with someone in their food relationship is so many times a client has come in and what we've talked about, they're like, we literally did that exact same session in therapy, but food never came up. It was the same theme, but they got to the emotional underpinnings of it. And this was how it was coming out with food. So as you're working through the relationship with food, you're working to improve your emotional health and understand how your thoughts are related to your emotions. And as you're doing that, it's actually helping you in your relationship with food. And so does that make sense?
Yeah, completely.
So that's part of why what I do is really nutrition therapy. I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychotherapist, but there are things invariably that come up in session that connect with something emotionally for somebody. And, you know, they have some aha moments, which then they can take into their therapist and talk about more deeply. I don't process, they process, but it, we're not afraid to have like this mirror almost show up.
It makes complete sense to me because the patterns in our lives show up in overt ways, obviously, but also in more subtle ways, and they can just be, within the therapeutic process, the aha moments, the awareness of, oh my gosh, this is this. It's just showing up in a different way. So it makes complete sense to me.
And that's what I love. I love that so much. And it's, someone doesn't have to have this is just a human thing. They don't have to have a full-blown eating disorder for this to be. This is just life. And someone's being really very disorganized, that's going to be showing up in their food. And so how can we help?
Part of our ADHD crew, right?
Percent exactly. Yep. Yep.
Or if you're just in such a time crunch and you don't, not only do you not have enough time for your, to eat a meal, but you don't have time for your kids or for your spouse or for your friendships or for your, people you're managing, you know,
Yep.
it impacts all aspects. So yeah, the patterns show up in every part of our life. That's wonderful. And then, what would your advice be for executives and leaders about building their own team of support for their mental, emotional, and physical health?
I mean, I think if you even just think about a business, right? A business isn't just one person. You need different you need different departments. You need, you need people managing different things. There's different, um, just so many different functions to keep a business running smoothly. So it's this, why does our life have to be any different? I can talk about food, but if I'm talking about it all by itself, it really doesn't have any relevance. If there's, how is it, what else is going on for that person? So they can really optimize their body, mind, spiritual well-being. All of those things are really, really connected. And the mind is very much connected to the body and to digestion. And, if someone's anxious, I think that the statistics are, 90% of people with anxiety have some digestive connection. So it's very, very connected. And you can't just focus on anxiety and not talk about how it might be impacting their ability to digest food. And I can't really just help somebody who's having IBS if they're not seeing a therapist, so it's just so many, it makes someone's life easier. It can seem like, okay, having more people makes things more complicated. It actually helps everything sort of fit together and then makes their life more manageable ultimately.
It's when people can finally start investing in themselves the way they can invest into their businesses, they really can start to blossom in so many aspects of their life.
Mhm.
So, for the busy executives who are listening to us today, what are three simple, actionable shifts in nutrition that could bring about almost immediately, maybe, an improvement in clarity and energy and focus?
So, um, the first thing is almost like kind of multifold, but it starts in the morning, really. Um, can't really fix our relationship with food and patterns at the end of the day. So starting in the morning, starting with water before coffee, trying to eat within an hour-ish of waking, to really turn things back on, get your brain refueled, get your body awake. And then eating consistently on a regular as best you can. I like to think of it as a rhythm, more of a rhythmic eating, not rigid eating times, but kind of consistent every 3-ish to 4-ish hours during the day. And that when you're eating, you're putting together a meal that has protein, carbs, complex carbs, and some fat, and then some color, kind of pull it together. Um,
Color.
and that's, yeah, I think of it as PCF, protein, carb, fat, plus some color at all your meals. And that when you're doing snacks, you're trying to do a combination of a carbohydrate because it'll feed your brain,
Yeah.
and then protein and or fat so it will stabilize. If you just have the carb, you'll come up and you'll crash. If you just have the protein, it really won't get to your brain. So that was 3 plus a couple bonus things in there.
We always like the extra. Extra's good. Um, and then, with the clients who have like these unpredictable schedules, or, maybe life has had some changes that have left them feeling overwhelmed. How do you how do you encourage them to maintain those positive changes that you guys have been working on? Like, are there any tips, or is it um, just putting in those reminders in their phone, or what's worked for your clients that's helped them?
Um, I think practicing self-compassion first. Um, this is a tough time. There's a lot going on. It would be weird if everything was actually smooth right now because my life is not smooth. Okay. So starting with that. because the more we just try to dig in and make it happen, that actually makes it worse. So starting with that, and then kind of highlighting, like, in general, what's most important for me right now. Um, do I need to be ordering more Instacart things so I have more things available and I don't have time to go to the store? Um, do I need somebody else to help me get food? Do I need to do more takeout right now? Like, what can I do to have, because if we don't have access to enough food regularly, everything goes out the window. So
Mhm.
kind of coming back to that, how can I make sure I have enough around me? And yeah, sure, I love cooking, but I don't have time right now. So that's okay. How do I get it there? So I think reorienting expectations is really important. And kind of coming back to like my general intention versus goals. Like the general intention is to be eating consistently. How can I give myself some grace? What'll help me eat consistently? And put one foot in front of the other and just do the best I can in this moment.
I think, having what you were saying, the compassion, because how can we be on top of every single thing when life just got chaotic? But then additionally, like not everything's going to be the same priority level
Right.
as everything else. So, maybe the laundry's not as important.
Yeah.
Actually fueling your body and being able to, have some energy and ability to focus and concentrate. Maybe dusting can wait. And I think people have an idea that others are doing it all, and so there's something wrong with them that they're not. And I would share with everyone in the audience that, what we hear, what you and I hear, no one's doing it all. Everyone's having to let something drop. So what can we prioritize that's going to help you feel the best, you know, perform at your best for this moment. And, when life comes down, everything else can be caught up on.
Absolutely. And reminding them that it's the same for us, right? I get sick of planning meals. I have many times where I've come home and I'm like, I don't know what we're doing. All right, are we ordering? What are we doing? It's like, I mean, I talk about food all day and I get tired of it and I'm not, so I think sometimes just normalizing that too is it's a human thing. It's not it just happens. So
Yeah, being human. And then, all right, so I had another thought. How do you see the role of executive coaching and nutrition intersecting more deeply in the future?
Hmm. Um, well, one of the things I'm doing more of right now is I have a course called Intuitive Nourishment, which is a it's essentially a coaching course helping people really kind of undo all of their myths and their stories and their diet history, because that actually bogs down someone's life, when if they've chronically dieted or they have, just they're trying to follow all the rules, which change literally every other day. So it's like, I should
Okay.
eat this, don't eat this, have to do this, better eat like this. It's exhausting. And so part of what um, I have a passion for right now is really helping people kind of unburden that so they can actually live in the way that they're wanting to live. And, um, food is one part of it, but it's now a healthier relationship with it. It's more joyful. They're able to listen to their bodies and then have all this energy to do the things in their life that are important and, you know, do their career that they're wanting to do, be present with the people in their life. And so, um, you know, part of my mission right now is to have kind of we talked about before, having food be more joyful and have it be a positive part of life rather than feeling like one more thing. And so that kind of intersects beautifully with, how do you be your best in your career and running your business. And if you're on and off diets, you really can't. You really can't be fully there, because there's this thing always playing in the back of your mind that you're doing something wrong with your food and you should be doing this. And so,
The dreaded tape.
yes, yes. So learning how to rewire that opens up a lot of space in somebody's brain and their life.
Yeah. Yeah, so when our brains are well fueled and we've gotten rid of the dreaded tape that's always playing in the background, all of a sudden we have all this energy to accomplish all these other things.
That's a lot.
Now I can see how someone would benefit, just as we were saying earlier, from just a whole team. This person's helping you with your relationship with food, and this person's helping you set your goals and figuring out how to wrangle your ADHD brain or your time management to get more accomplished, get more things accomplished. And not so much a time management, but I think of it as an energy management where, I have times of the day where I'm just performing better than other times. So why would I save the most complex task for when I'm feeling the most sluggish? Or
Exactly.
when I'm just feeling kind of talked out for the day, why would I then pick that moment to try to get the most important thing of the week, done? So, energy management, which overlaps with time management. And then there are people who benefit from spiritual advisors or just someone they can talk with about, some of the complex, thorny moral issues of the day. But having just a whole team in place can be so, so helpful for living our best lives.
It's it's really amazing. And having opportunity, having yoga or movement as part of that too is another way of, it is connected to all these other things also. So that's another piece that um, I love to have people consider in doing movement in a way that actually feels like it's meeting their needs, not because they should be exercising. So that's a whole other um, aspect to, something that can be a part of somebody's team, really.
Right. For those listening, if you haven't ever tried yoga, I would encourage you to. By the time you're done with a session of it, you just feel limp and loose and warm and just relaxed, and all that tension that maybe you've been carrying for the day has just been stretched out, and it's a lovely feeling. So if you haven't tried it, try it out. So if someone were to come to you, or if someone were to refer someone to you, what would be the client that would be such a great fit for you in Therapeutic Oasis?
Oh, somebody who is excited to make changes, someone who is wanting who actually is wanting to work on really their relationship with food. So I don't tell somebody exactly what to eat. I don't, um, I'm not the food police. Um, I am not going to overplan things for them. I'm going to actually help them see how this fits in their life, what's not working for them, so that they can identify what they, have someone who has some ideas of what their intentions are. Um, so it could be someone who has a history of dieting. It could be someone who, as we've talked about already today, who has ADHD, somebody who really never had a chance to figure out how to feed themselves. They just jumped into their career and they've been so busy, they just order or eat out, and they maybe would like to figure out how to take care of themselves at home, but it's overwhelming and their expectations are like, I have to, so it's quite varied. It could be somebody who in the past had an eating disorder. They're doing fine right now, but they're sort of feeling stuck. Um, so all kinds of things that those.
I was really excited to talk with you today and learn more about what you did or what you do and you know, just the way you approach your clients. And I really appreciate how you're making the world a better place. So thank you so much for that and for joining us today. And for everyone listening, Christie's website, you want to
Uh,
give it to everybody?
it's therapeutic.oasis.com.
And then breakingforwardcoaching.com for anyone interested in executive coaching, ADHD coaching, coaching for people who are transitioning into either a different career or another stage of life, or just looking at becoming more productive with their day, or trying to figure out what's next in life for themselves. So thank you everybody for joining us. Christy, again, thank you. And I hope you
Thank
have an
you
excellent
for having
day.
me. It's been wonderful.
It's been so much fun. Thanks. All right, so we're done. Kate will take out all my awkward moments, I hope.
I do.
You were perfect. You were wonderful.
That was
So,
fun. That was very fun, Beth. Thank you.
oh, I'm always really excited when I see people who've built something that looks like it would be really satisfying for their soul and, and pay the bills. So as I was looking through your website, I was like, this is so neat.
Thank you. Thank you. Where are you located?
I'm in the Tampa Bay area, so I live in Seminole, which is south of Clearwater and Largo, and
Okay.
I'm kind of to the northeast of St. Pete.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm up in that area. And then actually not this is just coincidence, although it is how Kate and I eventually met because she was working down here at the time, but I think she and I are like 8 minutes away from each other from her townhome down here.
Oh,
She has a,
wow.
yeah, she has a townhouse down here, and obviously she's many, many miles away up in Pennsylvania.
Right, right.
Um, but yeah, we met, I don't know, 2009, 2010,
Okay.
a long time ago. It just started out with, obviously she was, doing her work with ICM Associates with her clients, and she really needed a psychiatrist up in the area. And that's how we met.
Awesome. That's
Lucky
really,
me.
yeah, it's great.
How lucky am I?
Very cool. And are you taking new psychiatry clients as well?
I am only by referrals. So like if you like I won't tell Kate no ever. And then like if you had someone who you needed to be seen, we can find space. But like if someone calls just randomly, I'm not taking new clients
Okay.
that way.
Okay. Perfect.
But being ADHD myself, I have different things that I'm doing. So I have my little private practice. We have Breaking Forward, and then actually I'm also now working more at Tranquil Shores, which is a dual diagnosis program up here in Pinellas County.
Okay.
And it's such a good program. We max out like at 20 clients. We try to have like a no more than 3 clients to a therapist. Every now and then something might happen where the therapist has 4. But the groups they've put together so many really good, profound groups. And a lot, of course, we're focused on trauma. And then with me here, we're able to pretty quickly identify if we're dealing with some underlying psychiatric illness. So it's been really satisfying. Chad Johnson started it years ago. Jimmy Johnson's son, one of his sons.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So Chad basically, he'll tell you, he started the program that he wished he had attended all those years ago when he needed to be in treatment. And he's done such a good job of bringing in good people to build the program. And so I've been asked to be medical director at another place like several years ago, and I just couldn't. It just wasn't Tranquil Shores, and I just didn't want to. I didn't want to step away from being involved with this group. But
Special.
Yeah. But like, oh my gosh, though, like this week I got two male borderlines.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
that common. Wow.
It's like they exist. They don't normally get identified as frequently
Yeah.
as women. They present a little bit differently. And but as soon as I hear bipolar in people, borderline's always like in my differential. So, I'm of course screening for everything. And I'm like, oh, look at that. And then the next one came in and I'm like, oh, we have two. What's that gonna
It's
do?
a DBT up there right now. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a DBT group and the counselors are all they're all putting DBT into their treatment plans. And so anyway, I have a lot of things I really enjoy that I'm doing as well. So anyway, another reason why I'm glad for you, because I'm glad for me, so I'm glad for you too.
Yeah. Like,
Well, what's the rest of your day look like?
I think I might go home and do some charting. And me, I don't know what else. But nothing else really structured the rest of the day, which is kind of nice. How about you?
Um, I am driving up to Jacksonville because I'm supposed to go to a conference. And then I'm going to try to dip out on it early Sunday morning because daughter, my youngest daughter, got asked to come up and play for the top team for her soccer club.
Oh,
Oh, and it's been something they've alluded to that they were anticipating that they would, and they are. So this will be her first weekend playing for them. So I'm gonna
happy
miss the Saturday game, but we're hoping to sneak back from Jacksonville early enough that we can see the Sunday one.
time.
It'll
Mm.
be good. It'll be good. Whether we make it or not, I have a lot of kids, so the other sisters will be there, even if I can't
Okay.
be.
Okay.
There'll be family representing. It'll be all.
Supporting. That's fantastic. Oh, very cool.
Well, thank you so much. And I just realized that I didn't turn off the recording so Kate can partake with all of this with us later. Sorry, Kate. And then I hope you have a good weekend.
Thanks, Beth. This was wonderful.
I appreciate you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.